like in their own little space, so you don't need a password.
Oh, okay. All right, is everybody following along so far? Does everybody have their own workbook open? We have 8 people in Zoom right now. See, there's many more than 8 in the call here.
I need to download the Zoom.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, we'll wait.
Is there any difference between the stream you're doing right now on Discord and the Zoom call?
There won't be any difference, but the Zoom call is recorded automatically, and so we're going to be keeping those, and we'll share them for people that want to watch them later. If this time didn't work for them, the audio is recorded on Zoom as well. So. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Just wait a little bit for it.
Can you guys hear me
Actually get it.
on Zoom?
Wait a little bit for it.
Okay, is everybody talking on Zoom? In that case, I should not mute it.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
GB, I think we
Yeah, so everybody just mute on Discord and then we'll only talk on Zoom, okay? Yes. Right. So I would recommend joining the Zoom audio because I'm going to be muted on Discord as well. Okay, so from now on, we'll be on Zoom. Okay, everyone, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll do a little bit of introduction here first. So I'm TB on Discord. My name is Tyler. I've been coding for several years. I started in high school, writing code on a calculator. But I went to college for computer science, graduated with my bachelor's, and I was working on Python code while I was there for some companies in my town, doing like data processing stuff. I've also worked with microcontrollers, writing like C++ code. I've done lots of JavaScript at my current job, making microservices and APIs and all those nice buzzwords. But I like to write code for fun. It's really enjoyable for me. So this is like a passion of mine. I also enjoy like doing tutoring and stuff. I've never done it formally, so this is kind of like just one of the first like big events, I guess, that I've gotten to do. So I'm excited to be here. So yeah, well, we'll do Exa next. So Exa is the other instructor for this session.
Yes. Hi. Wait. Can you guys hear me on Zoom? I'm not so sure.
I hear you fine.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I am the other instructor. I've already done 2 sessions here. I've taught in 2 sessions. 3? I think it's 2. There's nothing much about me. I'm an economics student and I'm addicted to coding. And I'm really excited for this whole thing. And I hope you guys will be too by the end, for those that are joining us for the first time. That's all.
All right, cool. So everyone can do a short little introduction if you'd like to. It's optional. So we'll just go alphabetical order in the Discord call. So we'll start with 0. If you'd like to, you can. If you want to skip, you can. I don't know if he's on audio yet. Well,
I'm not sure if he's on the Zoom call.
Yeah, well, we'll come back to him if he joins. So next
Okay, I
is
think I joined.
Ellie Raisin.
Okay, so do you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Victor. I'm a third year computer science student. I have experience in C++ and Java, and hope to learn Python today and the next sessions.
Awesome. Welcome. Next is Creamy Nico. Creamy Neko.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah. Hi. I'm not that experienced in coding. I just have done the basics for Python like a year ago, but kind of quit because of confusing and my PC crashed. So I'm hoping to learn something, a lot more now.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Next is Dashu.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, I'm Dashu Chris. I took 2 semesters of programming at community college, but I kind of found like all the general stuff was making me really frustrated and angry. So I'm looking into more online options, and I'm actually excited to do like these Discordy type stuff. It seems like people are a lot more into it than those intro coding classrooms. So looking forward to learning more.
Classroom coding classes definitely have their disadvantages.
Yeah,
but we also have our own disadvantages here. Like face-to-face can be very helpful.
Oh, for sure.
Anyway, Disciple of One.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I was here on lesson 1 last week. So yeah, I'm excited for lesson 2, hoping to learn more. Yeah.
Awesome. Welcome. So Hell is Empty. If you'd like to go next.
The door is closed anyway, so there's no much trouble.
Hello? You there? Hell is Empty. Oh, we can just come back to him unless he's passing. Cadus?
Yo, hello?
Hey.
You guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, hi, I'm Cadus, Cadus, I guess you can call me Cadus.
Welcome.
I was here last week. I'm new to Python, and I'm looking to learn it so I can just do medical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's it.
There's plenty of opportunity for that nowadays, definitely. Nya? If you'd like to go next.
Hello. I hope
Hello.
that I'm not cutting off from you.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay. So yeah, my name is Nya. I've been interested in coding as a way in order to introduce me to my health sciences or tools, because I think that learning the basics will make me able to will actually facilitate and help me to learn about tools that are involved in biological analysis. So yeah.
Wow. Awesome. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Pony Boy, if you'd like to go next.
My name is Will, and I studied 3 years of electronics, which I learned how to program in Arduino and LilyPichu, but I never learned to program in Python. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Welcome. Prady.
Hi. Yeah. I'm here to, I guess, stick along for the ride. I'm a recently graduated software engineer. I work on Java backend. And
Gotcha.
yeah, I'm just here to, I guess, for now, kill time. And then once things start getting advanced, I'll start learning stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. It will be a little bit slow for people that already know programming.
It's a refresher.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. Welcome. Pride A.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Matt. I did biology in college, but I took 2 computer science classes. I stopped after data structures because I had to finish my degree on time. And I'm basically here for like refresher on Python. I know much more Java, but I'm really interested in getting into the deeper stuff later on.
Awesome. Yeah, welcome. Let's see. Scuttle?
I might have missed my introduction.
Oh, are you Linux boy?
I'm Hell is Empty on Discord.
Hell is Empty. Okay, yeah, we can come back to you right after Scuttle. Okay.
No.
All right, go ahead.
I was just getting a coffee.
No problem. Awesome. Oh, yeah. It can always be, yeah, it's a little intimidating jumping from your first language to your second one, for sure. Right. Gotcha. Welcome. Yeah, I've also created my own Discord bot using the Python library, discord.py. Very easy to use. So I think it would be an awesome idea to add that into the curriculum at some point. So Validius, if you'd like to go next.
Hi, yeah, I'm Validus. I mostly coded in Java and C, and so I'm sure I wouldn't necessarily learn that much in this lesson, but it's a good refresher. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Welcome. And then lastly, we have Zuger Fat. I probably destroyed that.
Yeah, no, it's right. So, hello. So I participated in yesterday's workshop, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm here now for the second one, and I'm really excited for this one and for what's up to come next afterwards.
Cool. Perfect. And then Hell is Empty. I did not forget about you completely.
No, I was getting a coffee anyway. Yeah, I went to community college for coding, just learned some front-end web development stuff, but I really want to learn an actual programming language. Hopefully I can eventually get a job in that industry, and right now I just want to make some programs that'll just help me get into Python.
Well, cool. All right. Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started here. So is everybody on REPL right now? Does everybody have the page up like is on my screen?
Yeah.
Oh, I have Notepad++. Is that okay?
So you won't be able to run anything from Notepad++ unless you know how to work your Python on the command line.
Oh, okay.
So if you're comfortable with that, then that's cool. But if not, then I suggest using REPL just for these exercises.
I will do that.
So Exa posted the REPL link in the chat. Once you go there, you can open a new REPL in the top right here.
I will do that.
Or there's REPL, there's another link that Jab sent.
I think Naya is still trying to get into REPL, so.
Yeah, we can wait for just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm really sorry.
No problem, no problem.
Where's this link, in Discord or the chat?
Yes, does everyone know how to get to the Zoom chat?
Here it is. Here it is.
We will be using Zoom chat for the entirety of the lesson. So if you need to ask any questions, you can ask there.
Cool.
Yep. Okay. Now, are you in REPL yet?
I'm in Reckful.
Does it look like what I have on my screen as well?
Main.
Almost.
If you have a smaller screen, it'll look kind of different.
Oh yeah, my screen is very large. So
yeah, I noticed.
I may need to zoom in a little. Yeah.
Should I go, like, should I click on, I mean, I'm in the home page right now.
Okay, so in the top right, there's this new REPL button.
Oh.
You can click there, and then you can select Python in the dropdown. And then you can click Create REPL. You can name it too if you want. Not necessary.
And also, TV, you're also streaming on Discord. I don't know if you're doing that on purpose or fine to leave it.
I was originally, but...
Yeah, but because we don't need it right now. We might just...
All right.
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. So everybody is ready now. So we'll just get started. So today we're going to be talking about lists. So Pokemon has been like the usual topic. I hope everybody's at least a little familiar with Pokemon. So we'll be making lists of Pokemon in this session. We'll be learning how to add to lists, remove things from lists, clear lists, loop over lists. You'll understand all of that by the end of this. So first we'll start by creating a list. So you can create a list as simply as creating a variable like this. So a list is actually these two square brackets together. So this creates an empty list with Pokemon's being the variable name. And then if you want to add things to the list while you're creating it, you can open it up like this, or you can do it on the same line. And you can just add anything you want in here. So we'll be adding in some Pokemon names. So we can do Pikachu, Mewtwo, Celebi. So there's just like a really simple list of Pokemon here. Okay, and then you can print out a list just by passing it to the print function. And that's all it takes. So now we can run this code with the big run button up here. And then it'll show the output over on this side. So it just prints our list of Pokemon just like that. All right. Now, once you have an existing list, then you can add to it. So one way that we can do this is by creating a new list, starting from nothing. And then we can add new things to it by using a function called append. And we can add new things to it. So to avoid any complications with the original list, I'll pick some new Pokemon here. So we can do Charmander, Right. So you can create a list in the same way by using .append. Typically, if you're going to be creating all of your items at the beginning, you would want to just create it all at once without doing any append calls. Okay. All right. And then again, we can print the list just by sending it to the print function. We're going to run it, and we'll see our new list has these 3 Pokemon instead. All right. Is there anyone that's confused so far?
So is this just a different way to like arrange lists? It's like you can either do it from the first way or the second way, and they both do the same thing.
Right. So both of these methods kind of achieve the same goal, but as with the first case, so we start with 3 things in the list here. We can also add additional elements to it at any time. So like we can add a new one, and this will just add on to what's already there. So now we have our original list also has Raichu on the end.
Why wouldn't you put Raichu on the list on the top, like inside the?
I mean, the point is that you can do it either way. So the case where you would use append is if there's some additional logic required, like maybe you don't always want to put Raichu in the list, but sometimes you do. And so you can put some logic in place to where you don't always put Raichu in the list. And so you would append at a later time. You wouldn't put it in the list at startup or at initialization. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, so sometimes you might not want to put Raichu in, so you create a different way to arrange the list or
exactly.
Yeah.
So putting it this way,
it might be like conditional or something, right? And then sometimes you don't want it to be in or.
Absolutely.
While like Pikachu, Mewtwo, and Celebi are always going to be there, and then on some occasions you might want Raichu, so you create this, but like not all the time. So you create an alternative way of adding something to the list. But the first initial list stays the same constantly all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we will learn that you can modify lists. You can remove things from it as well. But essentially, like, this is declarative. So you're saying, this is what my list looks like when I start with it. Whereas here, we're only declaring that our list is empty. And then, so from there, it can become whatever we turn it into. So a little bit,
okay.
There are just different ways of doing the same thing right now. We'll learn other ways to use append to achieve new functionality. Was there another question? Or,
yeah. What does like the print command means?
So print is a function in Python. So you can just type print, and then in the parentheses you pass any value, and it will write it into your console when the program runs. So it's just a way of like checking the value of your variables. So
like regarding like the list, it's like we're creating a sort of a package, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like an ordered list. So like you're making like a grocery list or something. So the items in your grocery list are ordered from top to bottom. So essentially we're doing the same thing. Like our first item in our list is Pikachu, then the second one is Mewtwo, the third one is Celebi. And then at a later time, we also add Raichu to the list.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, moving on. So at any point in time, you can check the value of a particular item in the list. So our list here that we created, our second list, it has three items in it. So we can check the value of any of these particular items by using something called indexing. So we can do that by using square brackets again. Maybe it'll be slightly confusing, but if we use our list and we put square brackets on the end and we put a number in here, then this will get the value of the item at the first spot. So something important to note is that list indexes start at 0. So Charmander here, or I'll use the console here. So Charmander is actually in the 0th position. Maybe that sounds a little strange to some beginners here, but it goes 0, 1, 2. And so we'll see that if we print out Pokemon's 1 by using our print statement again, that we won't be looking at Charmander, we'll actually be looking at Bulbasaur. Right? And there are reasons for this. Some of them are like the real reasons for why it's 0-based indexing is a little bit out of the scope of this lesson. So I won't get too much into that, but just know that that's how it is. Okay. So if you want to print the very first Pokemon in the list, you'll want to use 0 instead of 1. And then we'll see Charmander here instead of Bulbasaur. Okay, so as an exercise, let's see. Yeah, so as an exercise, let's add an additional Pokemon to the list. Or it can be anything you want. If you don't know Pokemon, that's fine. And then we're also going to have you print that Pokemon. So your new Pokemon will be added to the end of the list. So you'll need to print it at the appropriate index. So remember 0-based indexing. The 0 is your first Pokemon. So if you have a new Pokemon at the end, like we added the Raichu to the end up here, then you'll need to use the appropriate index. So everybody go ahead and try it. And when you're finished, in the participants section of Zoom, there's a raise hand button. You can click that when you're finished. If you have any questions, you can type in the chat, or you can feel free to ask them out loud. X is in the chat to help answer some questions as well.
Just a question, it might sound dumb. After like writing the comment. Oh. Okay.
Go ahead.
Do we click Control Enter in order like to activate the comment? I'm sorry.
What do you mean? Control Enter to activate comments?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you mean.
I mean, okay, I'm following like I'm writing, for example, Pokemon and like Pikachu, Mewtwo, Celebi, etc. And then I want like, what next? Like, what shall I click next? Control Enter?
Just Enter is fine. To go to the next line, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, just Enter is fine.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's fine, don't worry.
Text editor.
Yeah. So just like working with like Microsoft Word or something. Or Notepad or anything like that. Yeah. Somebody was saying, yeah, if you press Control Enter, it'll actually run your program. So it's like a shortcut instead of clicking the button up here.
Okay.
So Scuttle, you're saying you can't create an object inside the append function. What do you mean? Okay, I see some people have finished already. Oh, you're doing a little bit of advanced stuff there, Scuttle.
By the way, I was wondering, when you created the Pokemon list, the first one with Pikachu, Mewtwo, and Celebi, and created the second one later on that's also called the Pokemons.
Yes.
Why are they, when you printed them, why do they both print differently? Like,
Okay.
the naming lists.
Yeah, I got you. So
Okay.
I got you. So so always remember that the programs run sequentially, so from top to bottom.
Okay.
Always. So we originally created the Pokemon's list with these things in it, and then we added something to it, and then we printed it. So when we printed it, it writes it into the console. Like literally, it writes it immediately. And then down here, we overwrite the old value. So we get rid of what was here before. And we just give it a brand new value.
Yeah, you give
and
it
then
a value of 0.
And then we add things to it again, and then we print it again. So it again literally writes it into the console. So this is basically just like a history almost of like all of your print statements.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So when you created that second list that's empty, it kind of like creates like a new line with an empty list, and then you just started adding the other 3 like Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle, right?
Yeah, we completely overwrote the old value of this variable.
Yeah, so like the list just became empty, and then right? Okay.
Okay, it seems about half of you are still working. Is anyone too confused to finish?
Yeah.
Do you feel completely lost?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's fine. We will go over the answer, and hopefully it'll clear some of that up for you. I know you're here as like you're here as a beginner, but you're coming to lesson 2 instead of lesson 1, so maybe it'll be a little challenging.
So the thing, or what I'm required to do is to redo what you just like did in the beginning, right?
Essentially, yeah.
I think I already followed the instructions.
Well, what you got? You can paste your code in the chat if you'd like. If you're unsure.
I got nothing. I'm sorry.
Nothing. Well, we can go over the answer in just a moment. All right, that looks good, Chris. All right, so we will move on, and I will go over this really quick. So if you want to add a new Pokemon to the list, then we're just going to do what we did up here, where we added Raichu to an existing list. So we have our list of Pokemon, which we created here. And now we're going to add a new one. So we'll just say Pokemons.append, and then we'll just put Lapras in here. And then if we want to print that Pokemon, we have to know which spot in the list it's at. So previously we had 3 Pokemon in our list, and then we added a 4th one. So if we want to print the 4th Pokemon in the list, we actually have to print the 3rd Pokemon because it starts at 0, right? So if we do this, we'll see Lapras in the chat, or in the, not in the chat, the console. And if we print the full list instead, then we'll see that Lapras is on the end of the list now. Thanks, Scuttle. All right. So that was good. Let's see. I have another exercise here. Okay, I don't think we need to do that one. Oh. Oh no, I have the old, why is my old lesson up? 1 second. Gotta pull up. Yeah, it seems like I closed the new lesson and I had the old lesson up. All right. So moving on. So let's say we wanted to get the very last Pokemon in the list. So this is perfect for the exercise that we just did, because whenever we add a new Pokemon to the list, it's always going to be at the end. So if we wanted to just get the last Pokemon and we don't actually know like how many things are in the list, then there's a special notation for that in Python, and it is called negative indexing. So we can, so we'll say last Pokemon, and then, so we're concatenating two strings by using the plus sign here. So we'll say last Pokemon is Pokemons at -1. So we're not literally looking for the -1 index in the list. We're saying start from the end. So this is the last index in the list. And so if we do this, it should print the same Pokemon that we added in exercise 1. So here, the last Pokemon is Lapras.
What's the logic behind that? Or we just need to know that this is like that, like the first thing in the string is a 0.
Yeah, so it can be convenient at times. There is another notation to get the last item in the list, which we'll go over in just a little bit. But this one is much more concise. It just takes up less space. And as a Python programmer, Python programmers recognize this. They all know what this means. So just getting the last item is a relatively common thing to do. And so having a quick notation to get that is actually really helpful. So it is good to know. Also, this isn't just getting the final index, it's actually index in reverse. So you can do the same thing to get the second to last Pokemon. And you can say -2. And so this will pull the second to last one. So that'll be Squirtle here. Well, let's print out the list after. No, it doesn't work. So we add Lapras, and then our list has 4 Pokemon in it. So the last Pokemon is Lapras, the second to last is Squirtle.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, is anyone lost from learning these reverse indexing?
So this is just if you want to start from the end instead of the beginning, you just do minus, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So just a different way of a different way of starting counting, I guess. Mm-hmm. Instead of being from the beginning, is from the end.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So the next thing is that you can overwrite something in a list. So given that our list currently has 4 items in it, we can pick any one of those items and just completely overwrite it. So earlier, we had our list of Pokemon, and it had 4 things in it. And then we completely overwrote it with a new list. So you can do the exact same for an item in a list. And the way we do this is, so using this notation, where we say Pokemon's at the 3rd index, we can instead assign to that index. So we can say, this time we'll do 1. So we'll pick the spot that has Bulbasaur in it right now. Okay, we'll say Pokemon's 1 equals, and then we'll just put a new Pokemon in there. So here we'll put Pikachu in. And then we can print a new list. So we had Bulbasaur there before, and then once we did this operation, it replaced Bulbasaur with Pikachu. Right? Does that make sense to everyone? Rather, is there anybody that this doesn't make sense for?
Makes sense.
Good. So when you're playing Pokemon, you'll have 6 Pokemon in your party potentially, right? And at any point you can swap 2 of your Pokemon, you can swap their places, right? So right now Charmander is the first Pokemon in my party. So what if instead I wanted Squirtle to be the first? So we would have to do a swap operation. And so something that everybody learns in their first few coding classes is how to swap items in a list. And there's a really well recognized convention here. You make a temp variable. So temp, we first store, we have to pick one of the things to store. Oops. We have to pick one of our items to store, one of the ones that we're going to swap. Because we know that the only things we can do is overwrite an item, or we can get the value of an item in a list. We can't actually just like swap them without like deleting the data essentially. And so if we want to keep that data around, we have to save it into a temporary variable. And so we'll save the first one into the temporary variable, and then we'll overwrite that item in the list. So if we want to swap Charmander with Squirtle, Charmander is at 0 and Squirtle is at 1 or 2, sorry. So right now, this completely overwrites Charmander with Squirtle. And so what's actually going on right now is that we have 2 Squirtles in our party. So we only had 1 before, and we just deleted our Charmander and got a new Squirtle. But we still have our Charmander here in this temporary variable. And so we can delete our old Squirtle and put our Charmander back. Okay. So Charmander is Pokemon 0. We save him here so that we don't lose him. And then we take Squirtle from Pokemon 2 and we put him at Pokemon 0. So now we have Squirtle here. And then we have to take our Charmander that we saved and we can put him where Squirtle was. Easy duplication glitch, exactly. All right, and then so if we print it, we'll see that they are swapped. There we have it. So Squirtle moved to the first spot. Charmander moved to the third spot. Yeah, so lists do not have a static size. Lists in Python are always mutable. So mutable meaning you can change them. There are other data structures in Python that can give you kind of the like immutable size constraint. Okay, so let's move on. Is there anyone that doesn't understand this? Because I know this is somewhat complicated.
Why is the third line necessary? Shouldn't be like enough to like just say that Pokemon 0 will be the Pokemon 2, replacing places, right? So why do you need that line?
So we have to remember. So we have to remember that when you say Pokemon's 1 is equal to Pikachu, we're just completely overwriting the value at Pokemon's 1. This doesn't have any other effect than deleting Pokemon's 1 and putting a new value there. And so when we say Pokemon 0 is equal to Pokemon's 2, we're just deleting Pokemon 0 and we're putting what is at Pokemon's 2, we're putting it there. And so what's at Pokemon's 2 is still at Pokemon's 2. We have not actually changed Pokemon's 2 yet. And so you can see that by printing here.
I was actually about to say, so if I print there, it will be 2 of the same?
Yep. You'll see that we have 2 Squirtles instead of just 1, right? Because the first step here is to move, or sorry, the first step is to save what's in Pokemon 0, because when we do this first operation here, we're deleting it. So if we didn't save it, we would completely lose that information. It'd just be gone. And so by saving it into this temporary variable, then we're able to hang on to what was there, even though we've overwritten that spot in the list. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think.
Okay. All right, let's see. All right, so we'll do another exercise. So let's swap our first and last Pokemon in our list. And we'll say that you cannot use the -1 index. Wait. Oh, hang on. Before we do that, there's one more thing we got to do. I missed something here. Okay, so given that we have our list of Pokemon, let's say that as the programmer, we don't really care about like how many things are in our list. Like we're just kind of adding a lot of things to it and we aren't keeping track. So if you want to know how many things are in your list at any given point in time, you can use a special function in Python called len. So it just stands for length. So you can do len of Pokemons. And this will give you the total number of Pokemon in your list. So we can save it into a variable. just like this. And then because Pokemon in party here is not a string, it's actually an integer because it came from this length function. We'll have to turn it into a string before we can add it with this other string. Okay, and so if we run this, we will see that our party size is 4 because we have 4 Pokemon in our list. And so given what you know about the length of a list here and how it's 4, and how the first index is 0 and not 1, so this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is always 1 plus the last index. And so if you wanted to, in this exercise, swap the first Pokemon in the list with the last one without using this -1 index, so you must use the length of the list. So in this case, Pokemon's. So if you must use this in order to swap your first Pokemon with your last one, how would you do it? So I'll give you guys a little bit of time. Just raise your hand when you're done. Feel free to ask any questions. Is there anyone completely lost? I'll take that as a no.
I don't understand how do we use the len Pokemons in this particular exercise? Because isn't that just to show the length of like how many elements are in the list?
Yes. So that's exactly what it does. So when you okay, so
So how is that relevant to swap the first with the last one?
So when you so let's imagine a case when you just pulled or you just have a list, but you don't actually know how many things are in it. So pretending a little bit here. So what's important about the len function in this example is actually the relationship between the length of the list and the index of the last Pokemon in the list.
Oh, you mean because they're the same?
They are not the same, but they're very close to the same.
Oh yeah, one is 3 because it starts on 0, right? So it's like 0, 1, 2, 3, but that's 4 elements, right?
Exactly. So there's 4 things in the list, but the last one isn't 4, it's actually 3. And so given a list of any size, you can actually get the index of the final element the same way every single time.
You just put the length -1, and it will always be the last one, no matter how, right? Is that it? Is that the idea? You can just use the command that like length, which will always get the last one, and then you subtract 1, and you will always get the last element in that list.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
I have to figure that out. How do I do that now? All right. Give me a second.
I guess it helps to know the number of items in a list is different from the number that you call an item from a list.
Exactly. The index of the final element is not the same as the size of the list. So the size of the list is always 1 more than the last index. In other words, you should never try and use the size as the index, which just for fun, which I haven't, since I haven't shown it yet, we can actually do that. So if we try to index the list using its length, this is wrong. This is actually off the end of the list. And when you try to do something like this, it's actually going to give you something called an index error. It's going to tell you list index is out of range. This is what it tells you anytime you try to...
Right, because it's 1 bigger than the actual...
Exactly. There's no data there, right? Because it's...
Yeah.
You're just off in oblivion after that.
Yeah. So you have to like add -1 in there somewhere, right?
Exactly. So this is valid always. Well, unless your list has nothing in it. If your list has nothing in it, is this still valid? So if len is 0, so if len of Pokemons is 0, you'll get -1 here, right? So can you say...
Well, yeah, but -1 is still the last. It works, right? It still works, right?
No, but there's nothing in the list, so it goes to the last item of 0.
Oh, right. Yeah. So it needs to have at least 1. Right.
Yeah. So is there a last element in a list that has nothing in it?
No.
Exactly. So you'll still get an index error. Technically, it's valid, but it's there's nothing there, and so that's when you'll get these errors. So this is called a runtime error. It's called a runtime error because the error is not detectable in your code. Like, just looking at this, you can't tell that this would be wrong ever, right? But if this list did happen to be empty, which you can't know unless you run it, then that's when your error would come. I can post all of the code into the Discord chat for anybody that hasn't, that doesn't have everything right now.
Please do.
Just a moment. So I'm posting into the open session voice text. All right, and we kind of worked through the solution a little bit. And so I'll go ahead and I'll give the solution here. Seems like a lot of people are done already anyway. So here, let's see. So yeah, if you want to get the, well, first we're gonna go through the swap syntax again. So we have to start off with a temporary variable. And we'll just, again, set it equal to the first Pokemon in our list, because we have to save it, right? And then we can overwrite the first one with the last Pokemon in the list. So if we want to get the last index in the list, we have to do like we were talking about earlier. So last index is the length of your list minus 1. So this is always true, no matter how big your list is. The only time it's invalid is when the list is empty. Okay. And so if we want to overwrite the first Pokemon in the list with the last one, we can do it just like this. And then now we have duplicates. And so we can take our saved Pokemon in temp, and we can save him back at the end of the list, like we did earlier.
Is there any way to actually like to not need to like create that first variable of last index? And
Yeah.
Just
So when you're programming in any programming language, there's basically a concept of like values. So this is a value, and like this is a value, and this is a value. So anything that can be like evaluated can be used as a value. So if I'm storing this into a variable, if I instead just replaced every instance of this variable with this expression, it's equivalent. So I can do that. I can take this and I can paste it here and here, and this is exactly the same code. And then we can get rid of this line.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So that goes for anything, right? Anything in like all of Python. If there's ever a value that you could store into a variable and then use it later, you can also just use that value in the place that you would be using the variable. And so that kind of brings up the idea of like, when do I save to a variable? When do I not save to a variable? And the idea is kind of like, if it's like a long line, or if it's like a complex operation, just save it to a variable. We'll be saving like things that aren't too complex to variables, just to kind of get you used to the idea of like saving to variables is useful, right? Naming things is useful. Because if you had like some ridiculous expression here, like a big long like a times b plus c, and it just keeps on going, like that doesn't mean anything. But if you give it a name like last index, that actually means something when somebody's reading through your program. I hope I didn't lose anybody there.
No, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Right. So the name of a variable actually gives context to the value itself. And so it can be useful to do things like this. Typically for an example like getting the last index, we probably wouldn't use a variable here, because being able to read length of Pokemon's -1, it's apparent to a programmer that that's what this means. But to beginners, maybe not so much. Okay.
I got an error message.
You got an error message. What does your error message say?
Traceback most recent call last. File maybe line not defined. Name error, name Pokemon isn't defined.
So you said it's name Pokemon, not defined?
Oh my god, yeah.
I think you're missing an S.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No problem. No, those are perfectly normal things that happen. And the editor here will actually, it'll underline it in red. So if you hover, it'll tell you undefined name, Pokemon. And that's kind of to clue you in that like you haven't defined this variable, and so you may have like typoed it or something.
Like my whole comments are mistyped.
Hey, make sure that when you make comments that you put the pound sign in front of them, or the hashtag.
Yeah.
Because this is how you define a comment. It makes it to where when it's running your code, it doesn't actually try to read this stuff. Oh yeah, and that's a perfectly normal mistake. Like people make those mistakes all the time. I have people at my work, they will copy and paste the names because they don't want to type them wrong. They'll do that all day.
It worked.
Mm-hmm. Nice job. Nice job. Very good.
And I don't know if you need comments. I don't have any comments in my code right now.
Oh no, you don't need them. They're just for helping you. So if you want to write comments to help you remember like what does what, if you want to go over this later, then it's a really good idea to leave some comments. Okay, moving on. Might need to increase the pace a little bit. Let's see. So yeah, alternatively, we can do the same solution, except instead of using last index, here, I'll just copy and paste. So instead of using last index here like this, we'll just use -1 instead, because we have already learned that -1 is just as capable of getting the final index as using the length of the list. And we'll see that this will swap them right back to where they were before. So we put Lapras in front, Squirtle in back, and then we put Squirtle back in front, Lapras back in back. Yeah, I'm gonna go on 1.5 times speed. Okay. All right, we have arrived at removing things from your list. So there's a special word in Python. So hang on, so removing from the list. Oh, Exa, when, I don't know when you want to take over.
Right after we show them how to clear. So right before the loops.
Okay, that'll work. All right, so removing from the list, very simple. We have a keyword, as it's called del, just stands for delete. And we can delete anything in a list or any particular index in a list. And the way we do that is we just tell it which one we want to delete. So if we want to delete the first item in the list, we just say delete Pokemon 0. And it's as simple as that. Can we delete the entire list? Yes. So there's like multiple ways to do it. We'll be doing some of them as an exercise pretty soon, so I won't give away the answer just yet. So if you delete the first Pokemon in the list and then you print the list, it'll be just as you expected. So Squirtle is no longer there. He has been deposited in the PC or something. Hopefully. Hopefully he's not gone forever. And then we can follow that up with, I haven't been making any comments about like what's been happening here. So maybe this console might be a little confusing. Is anybody having trouble like following like what is happening in the console here?
Nope.
Okay, I mean, we've been doing it all sequentially, so it might not be too difficult, but like just looking at this at the end, it might just be like, what's going on? All right, so so that's how you remove the first one, but we can also remove like the second Pokemon in the list. It doesn't have to be the first one. We can remove the last one too. So if we now remove the second Pokemon in the list, then we'll see that Charmander now gets removed. So Charmander was previously at the third spot, and then we removed the first one. Or sorry, we removed the first one, so Squirtle. So Squirtle was gone, and then Charmander became the second Pokemon on the list now. So previously he was the third, and then when we deleted the first one, he became the second. So it's important to know that when you use delete, it like moves everything up, right? So 0 is still valid even after you delete it. It's just that you remove the old 0, and now there's a new 0, if that makes sense. So delete only works with a single argument. So you can only delete one thing at a time. You could call it multiple times in a row though. Okay, so now our list of Pokemon only has 2 items in it. Okay.
Wait, is it an exercise?
An exercise? Oh, no, hang on. I'm reading through the lesson. Don't worry. Okay. So now we know how to add to the end of a list, and we know how to delete an item in a list. So what if we want to add an item at any spot in the list? So what if we wanted to add to the beginning, or we wanted to put something at the second spot, specifically the second spot? So there's a function for lists called insert, and it'll let us do just that. So we do and we need an index and we need something to insert. So we can insert at the beginning by saying 0. So the thing to note about insert is that the index you provide is the index that it will be available at once you insert. So this is the case for any of the like positive values. If you use the negative values, we'll get to that, but it's not technically right. So if we insert at 0, then it's going to be available at 0. So this will put it at the first spot. So we got rid of Charmander and we got rid of Squirtle. So maybe we should put one of them back in. So we'll put Charmander back in. We'll put him at the front. Just to kind of break up our console a little bit, we'll do that. All right, so our previous list was Pikachu and Lapras, and then we inserted Charmander at the 0th index. And so what that does is it puts Charmander there, and everything that was at the 0th index or farther to the right, it's just going to get moved over. So Charmander is now at 0, and then Pikachu, who was previously at 0, gets moved to 1. And then Lapras is, farther to the right. And so if I insert at 2, and I say, we'll put Squirtle back in. So if I insert Squirtle at 2, what do you think it'll look like?
It will be Charmander's Squirtle and Pikachu, and then the other one. No?
So where is index 2 in the list? So if 0 is the first spot, so if 0 is where Charmander's at right now, then Pikachu must be at 1, right? And then Lapras is at 2. So if instead we want to put Squirtle at 2, and we want to insert him, we're not overwriting, then where would Squirtle go? Where would Squirtle end up in this list?
Between Charmander and Pikachu.
So if he was between Charmander and Pikachu, what index would he have?
0. Oh, 1.
He would be at 1, right? So
Yeah.
if we did Pokemon's that insert at 1 and we put Squirtle, he would be right here between Charmander and Pikachu.
So it's gonna be like in between Pikachu and
Lapras.
Yeah,
Yep.
Lapras.
So he would be between Pikachu and Lapras, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So we can go ahead and run it. And we'll see that's exactly where he ended up. So, all right, so okay. So before we had 0, 1, and 2 were our indexes. And we put Squirtle at 2. So we put Squirtle at the end of the list, but for some reason he's still not at the end of the list. He's just at 2, and then Lapras became the new end of the list. Well, he was already the end of the list before, but he got moved farther to the right. So how do we put something at the end of the list using insert? I mean, go ahead.
I think you put -1.
So what does -1 stand for when you're using it?
It's the last element of the list.
And so if we want to put, what Pokemon should we put in here? We haven't used Mewtwo in a while. He's been kind of just chilling in the box. So if we want to put a Pokemon at -1, -1 always stands for the last index in the list, right? So what's the last index in the list, in this list? So it starts at 0, 1, 2, and 3. So how about in the list before that? So it starts at 0, 1, and 2. So previously we put Squirtle at 2. And when we put him there, it actually just, even though that's the final index in the list, it just pushed Lapras to the right again. So we'll see that when we do this, -1 is standing for the final index in the list, and it actually puts Mewtwo there, but then again pushes Lapras to the right. So a strange interaction here is that we can't put anything at the end, or can
What
we?
if you put -1 + 1? I don't know.
Then that would be 0. And he'd go at the front of the list.
What if you put the length command instead? And then
Absolutely, yeah. So let's try it. So instead of using -1 or a positive number, we'll just use the length instead. And we'll put our Celebi back in. So here we go. We were able to put Celebi at the end of the list. All right, and so now our list has too many Pokemon in it, so I'm gonna get rid of this Mewtwo. We can't have more than 6. And so, because I want to add one more. So I'm gonna say insert, and I'm just gonna give like an arbitrarily ridiculous number. So this number is obviously like way outside the bounds. And we'll put Mewtwo there. So important to note is that any number works as long as it is If it's longer than the list, it just puts it at the end. Sound good?
Yeah. So if you ever add something again after that, but you use a smaller number, it'll just be before it.
Yeah, so
Another insert, but using one.
so do you mean like if I did 9.7 instead of 9.8? Or do you just mean like smaller than the length of the list?
No, I mean like 9.7 instead of 9.8. If you did another insert, but it was just, even if it was just one number smaller,
Right.
it
So
would automatically just be before it.
Yeah, I got you. So when you're saying this like ridiculously large number, it's not actually putting it at that number. So the insert function just kind of sees that this is greater than or equal to the length of the list. And so all it does is it just puts it at the end. It doesn't actually put it at like 293 million index. It doesn't do that. So this was just kind of to show you that like it does work like this. This example, like this particular case, probably won't ever come up. The length of the list will always be fine for doing this.
Oh, okay. So if even if you said 6 after that, it would still go after Mewtwo.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
I could insert using the same number the whole time, and until we get to this number, like of items in the list, it'll continue to put it at the end.
Okay, that makes
And then once we have this number of items in the list, then it'll keep putting it at that index. And everything else to the right of it just keeps moving to the right.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. All right, and now our list is getting kind of big, so we can just get rid of all of our Pokemon by saying Pokemons.clear. And this will just clear the list. So our list is empty now. And there we go.
Can you please like explain the last thing you did? Like for example, usually you put like the comment that you want to do, and then you write afterwards the comment print Pokemon so it can be run. In here, you also like wrote print clearing a list. Tuck, 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 tuck. Can you explain all of that, please?
Oh yeah, so just yeah. Yeah, so this just removes, well, here, remove all items from a list. So yeah, if you have a list and you just want to empty it out for whatever reason, you can just call this clear function with nothing in the parentheses. And it'll just empty out your list completely, and you'll be left with the notation here for an empty list.
I got an invalid syntax.
Invalid syntax. Could you paste your code into the chat?
Okay.
Is your list is named Pokemon, right? And not Pokemon with an S?
Yeah. I think I did something wrong in somewhere.
I think leaving a space here is fine, yeah. It seems like you may have an issue from before that part.
That's what I'm thinking about.
If you want to comment stuff out to make sure that it's not interfering with what you're doing, you can do that with the hashtag. or the pound sign. Let's see.
How do you know? So like stuff like insert and clear and I don't know, like append comes after, right? The Pokemons, and stuff like delete comes before. Is there any reason why is that? Why isn't it like Pokemon's dot delete as well, for example?
Oh, harder to explain. So let's see. So there are functions for deleting things in lists, but they don't work the same way. So this isn't part of the lesson per se, but there is there's a remove function. So if you use remove, it's gonna take a value. So the value is actually what's in the list. So here we could say remove Charmander, and it would actually search the list until it finds Charmander, which is at the first spot. The difference between this and what we were doing before with del, so del, you just say what thing you're trying to delete. So you can specify a specific index here. The special thing about del is that it doesn't work only with items in lists. You can delete actual variables. You can delete any variable that you create. We'll learn about dictionaries in in session 3, and you can delete keys from dictionaries. You can delete any variable at all. So I could say delete Pokemons here, and it would completely delete it. And as you can see, it has turned all of my code red because Pokemons no longer exists, right? I would have to redefine it before I can use it again. And so what it's doing is when I say delete Pokemon 0, it's completely deleting this from like the program in a way. But I guess it has like a little bit of different functionality for items in a list than it does for deleting actual variables. So the reason for why it's like a keyword instead of a function, I mean, it's kind of like just the way the language is. But yeah, hard to explain beyond that. Let's see. There is also a pop function. So pop, in the world of C++, there's push and pop. So push is what you use to put something onto the end of the list. Pop is how you remove something from the end of the list. And so pop would remove the final element of something. Does it take an argument? I don't even remember. No. So
it can take an index.
Oh, it does? It's weird that it's not
For
telling
sure.
me. It's been a long time since I used pop. So I think this would do the same thing as removing Charmander. Yeah, so it actually doesn't even like that. Oh, wait. Oh, because I cleared my list. Ah. Makes sense now. Yeah, so pop can take an index and it'll remove the item that's at that index. So this works as well for a list. Del is generally, it's probably going to be the more common, though I think removing specific items from lists is a relatively uncommon thing to do anyway. Removing the final item from a list is pretty common though. So doing a pop without any arguments is going to remove the final item from the list. So our Mewtwo would disappear here instead of our Charmander. Yeah, so that one's really common. But anyway, that was kind of a side point. So next we're going to be moving on to loops. So were you going to take over from here, Exa?
Yes, I will.
All right, cool.
Okay, let's take a break though, like 5-10 minutes or so. So it's 39. Let's say it's 40 now. Let's start at 45.
Okay.
All right.
All right, I'm editing my comment from earlier to show the additional stuff. So in open session voice text, I had a paste of all the code from about halfway through the session, or halfway through my part of the session. And now it'll have everything.
I'm still trying to find where is the problem.
Could you share your entire code in, you can DM it to me, or you can share it in open session voice text?
I have like to add you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you can send it directly to me.
For anyone who's wondering, the main difference between del and pop is that pop also returns whichever item you just deleted. So you could actually use that against a variable. So you could assign the result of pop to a variable and you would get whichever item you just removed from the index that you specified. But if you just want to remove an item, you use del.
Yes, that's a good point. I didn't say anything about that.
Okay.
Pop probably uses del under the hood anyway, so.
Yeah, it is.
All right, now did you send your code? Hello, now?
Yeah, I'm just struggling with my internet. I will send it right away.
Oh. Oh, so your line before it? Are you looking at the Zoom call? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so your line before it, this print statement here, you're missing your closing parenthesis. Once you add that, then your error goes away here.
Oh my God.
No problem.
Syntax errors are the bane of every programmer's existence. You'll get used to it.
Very common. Very, very common.
I mean, I don't know. I should have paid attention.
You don't have to worry too much about making mistakes. So even professional programmers make Like, so syntax errors become less common as you get better, but having errors in your logic is common forever. Like every day at my job, like it's just like solving bugs, and bugs always come up because the logic isn't like absolutely correct. There's like edge cases, there's like sometimes just blatant mistakes, like oversights. Like that stuff is very common. And as a programmer, you'll be dealing with your own mistakes for a very large portion of your career. So it's best to not be too upset about it.
It worked.
Awesome. Nice.
Nice. All right. We might end up running a little bit over time, so I say we just start with the second part. Having that said, guess I'll be sharing my screen now.
Can I stop sharing, or will it just take it from me, or what?
Yes, it actually doesn't let me share unless you stop sharing.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
I didn't even know how.
That's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've changed up my layout a little bit just so my eyes don't burn from the white theme.
Oh wait, you can do that. How do you do that?
It's right here. It's on the left-hand side settings. Layout, I changed it from side by side to stacked, and theme I
Oh,
just picked
thank
dark.
God. God damn it. I wish I knew this since the beginning. Okay.
There you go. You know now. All right. So for the second part, we'll talk about if statements, and then we'll go a little bit into loops. We've actually sort of done if statements in the first session, so I'm not going to go too much into detail when it comes to the syntax around the if statement and else and if else. I will go into a little bit if there are people really struggling with it, which is fine. I know we have like some new people here. But what I'm going to mainly focus on for the first part is logical operators. So we're going to talk about Python's keywords, which are and, or, and not. So just a brief introduction to Booleans. Python has two ways of representing Boolean values. That is true and false. A Boolean value is just whether something is true or whether something is false. So you can have a door that is either closed or open, and you can have a variable called closed, either true or false, and your program can sort of revolve around this type of logic. Now, where and, or, and so on and so forth come in is when you want to combine Boolean values in specific ways. So I guess an easy example, keeping true to the whole Pokemon theme, would be, let's say we have a Pokemon, okay? We have Pokemon 1. I'm just going to name it Pokemon. And that's, okay, bye, Scuttle. Make sure to watch the recording if you just want to keep up. So yeah, let's say we have a Pokemon 1, and let's make that Celebi, just because that's one of the very few Pokemon that I know by heart. And let's have a Pokemon 2, let's call it Mew. And let's say for whatever reason we want to check whether this is the same Pokemon. Let's say we're making a Pokemon game and we have some logic where an attack needs to check whether the Pokemon that we're attacking is the same Pokemon that we are. So we can have is same Pokemon double equal Pokemon 2. Now this might be a little bit confusing at first glance. So what happens here is I'm creating a Boolean value using the equals comparison operator. So basically what this does is it's checking whether this is equal to this. And if it is, this whole thing will turn into true. If it's not, it will turn into false. And whatever is the result of this will go in here. And let's say I use it in an if statement like so. If it is so, same name. If it is the same, we're printing same. If it's not, print not same. So obviously there's not the same. So again, obviously what we get is not same. I know TB had his console to the right. I have it on the bottom, just for anyone who's missed that. So yeah, these are not the same, but if we change one of them to be the same as the other, we will get same. Again, I'm not going to go into the syntax of how the if statement works. It's a little bit intuitive, so try to figure it out if you think you can. Otherwise, like, raise your hand or just plain out interrupt me. I'm fine with that. And I'll try to explain what's happening. But yeah, these are Booleans, and this is how you use them in if statements. Now, let's say we had another Pokemon, okay? Let's say we had, I'll leave this as is. Let's say we had a generic Pokemon, so it has no number, like this is our main Pokemon, and it's Pikachu. So there are a couple conditions that a Pikachu can evolve into a Raichu. One, it has to be over a certain level, and two, it has to come in contact with a Thunderbolt stone or a Thunderstone. I don't know Pokemon. I think it's called a Thunderstone.
Yeah, Thunderstone.
Yeah, thank you. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong at like any Pokemon facts whatsoever. So let's say, so we have a Pokemon here. Actually, let's not have a Pikachu for now. Let's say it's a Pichu. I'm assuming that's how you spell it. So in order to evolve our Pokemon from a Pikachu to a Raichu, two things must hold. Well, three things. It must be a Pikachu. So if Poke equals Pikachu, and let's say it has a level. Okay, let's give it a level. It's level 12. And let's say that in order to level up, in order to evolve, it has to be level 40. And let's say that we Thunderstone. Let's say that we do have a Thunderstone. Okay? So if all of these hold true together, okay, we print Pokemon leveled up. Oops. Otherwise, nothing happened. Okay? So obviously, like two of these don't hold true. For one, our Pokemon is not a Pikachu, and also our Pokemon is not over level 40. So again, obviously, it's not going to level up. Nothing happens. Even though we have the Thunderstone, nothing's happening because the rest of the conditions don't hold. Let's see what happens when only two conditions hold. So let's say our Pichu is level 60. So it's over 40. Again, nothing happened just because it's not a Pikachu. But if all of the conditions hold, then it's going to level up. So if this seems confusing, you can always just take a step back and look at the bigger picture, right? It's the same as in real life. Like you're okay if, please, I did not spell it wrong. Okay, because Creamy Neko said evolved and I thought I spelled something wrong. Okay.
I think he means use Pokemon evolved instead of Pokemon leveled up.
Oops, okay. Thank you. Again, for Pokemon stuff, just let me know. So yeah, just take a step back and think how you use and, like the word and in real life, like in everyday speech. You use it when you want to denote that two things are happening together or sort of in conjunction with each other. Aside from that, we have the word or. Yes, for if statements, whatever you want to happen in the if statement or the else statement, you tap in, so you indent. Now the or is, again, the same way that we use in real life. Something can happen if something is true or if something else is true. So if one of our conditions is true. So what's something like that in Pokemon? Let's stick to the theme, right? Let's say that we want to get to a region, right? And we can get there if we have fly, which in this case, let's say we do, or we have a bike. Let's say that's false. In this case, we can name it. We can have a variable called can travel, which is has fly or has bike. To push further the point that you can assign Boolean values to variables, you don't need to use them directly in if statements like this. So I could have replaced this with a variable called can evolve and created that variable beforehand equal to all this. This is the exact same thing. I'm just going to leave them separate to further push the point that you can just assign Boolean values to variables. That's okay. Although obviously sometimes it may be just easier to read to use them next to an if statement instead of just having them as a floating variable. Line 17. No, line 17 wasn't supposed to be indented because it's not part of the inside of an if statement. It's more like part of the actual if statement itself. Does that make sense? So else shouldn't be executed if something happens. It just shows that something should be executed if something else happens. So it's more part of the if statement than part of the insides of it. All right. So let's see if can travel. Print. Yeah, we got there. If we can't travel, nope, no can do. We can't do that. So in this case, we have fly, but we don't have a bike. So intuitively, if one or the other needs to hold true in order to be able to travel, we should be able to travel. We should be able to get there. And yeah, we got there. If both are true, yes. So when you want to stop executing things inside the if or the else statement, you just tap out and the program will just move on. But yeah, as I was saying, if both hold true, it's still true that at least one's hold true, so we'll still get there. If both hold false, however, the if statement will be false, this will be false, so this will be false, so this will never happen, so we'll always go to the alternative. And I might as well just remove the else here just to show you that you don't always need to use else for those who are not comfortable with if statements. Just if I don't use else here, just nothing gets printed. But for now, let's say that we have at least fly. I think in a Pokemon game, you would get fly before the bike. No, you would get it after the bike. So let's do has fly, but we don't have a bike. We can't fly to places yet. But we can still get to this theoretical place. Now that's and or. I might be moving a little bit fast. That's only because we have like 30 minutes left and we might actually end up running a little bit over time. So at any point, if someone gets lost, if something seems weird or difficult or whatever, just stop me. Just like shout or raise your hand or speak in chat. I will always just read chat. So not is basically whatever Boolean you have, not inverts it. So if I decide that this person can't travel anymore, if this or this condition is true, I will say can't travel equals not can't travel. This might be a little bit weird, but think about it, okay? So do we have fly? No. Do we have bike? Yes. So can we travel? We can. Okay? So for whatever reason, the game now disallows us to travel if we have fly or bike. It thinks we're too versatile. So it just disallows us to travel. So what I do here, this should be true. Not, this just makes the whole thing false. So not true is false, not false is true. Let me just delete this and sort of come up with a separate example just for the sake of not tampering with this. So what's a not statement in Pokemon? I'm literally coming up with this on the spot. So if you guys want to like input, you can do that.
Being dead or alive. I don't know if that works. Or like faint.
Okay. So we can.
I don't know if that's a good one.
Okay. No, we can work with that. We can definitely work with that. So let's say that we're trying to bring in a Pokemon to a fight, to swap it with another Pokemon while we're fighting. If it's dead, sorry, if it's fainted, Pokemon don't die. If it's fainted, we can't. And we know whether it's alive. So if it's alive, it's true. And we're trying to swap it with the currently active Pokemon, so we need to check if it's not, dead, and it's false. So we know whether the Pokemon is dead or not. If it's not dead, print, it's going in. Okay, let me just not use the apostrophe here just because you guys are gonna get confused. We can use it. However, if it is dead, we cannot use this one. So does this sort of resonate with the point that I'm trying to make it? So here we're checking whether the Pokemon is not dead. Let's just run it for the sake of running it, and we should be able to use it because in our case it's not dead. And the beauty with all this is that you can combine all of these things. So you can say, I don't know, like again, let's say that we are disallowed to get into caves if we have a bike, like if we're on a bike or if we have no flashlight. So on bike, let's say it's true here, has flashlight, let's say it's false. So we can go in the cave, spelunky. So let's say we can be spelunking if we have not and nor have the usual priority. I will explain priority when it comes to these operators like very short.